Hello, my name is Lent, but you can call me Lent, and welcome to Architecture Essentials Episode 2, Colors and Textures. Let's go first in the meaning of colors. First, we have neutral colors, which are white, black, and shades of gray. We have also brown is a neutral color. Then we have cold colors, which kind of green, blue, and purple, and we have warm colors, which are red, orange, and yellow. Now, of course, there are also supposed to be associations between these colors. Yellow, for example, is supposed to be related to optimism, pleasure, envy, jealousy, and being betrayed. Orange to amusement, extroversy, taste, aroma, and danger. Red to danger, sacrifice, passion, blood, and anger. Purple to royalty and piety. Blue to sky and sea, and green to nature, spring, and hope. Black in Western culture is also the color death, evil, witches, magic, power, violence, and elegance. Grey is associated with the elderly, dullness, boredom, indifference. White with innocence, perfection, cleanliness, neutrality, and lightness. And brown is just a very natural color associated with earth and stability. So yeah, not sure what you're supposed to do with that information, but no, I found red is a really I think really associated with passion. I think that's one of the associations that I would make. Other than that, I don't know. And purple for royalty. In old Greek times, they smashed up some sea snails for their purple colored blood, and then they're going to it was really expensive to dye any cloth in this purple blood sea snail color. So that's why purple always reminds me of royalty. Royal purple. And so color wheel. What is what we're currently looking at. In the center we have kind of a triangle of red, blue, and yellow. These are the primary colors. Wow, a bat. Okay. Red. These are primary colors. And the colors on the sides are made up out of these colors. If you combine red and blue, you get purple. If you combine yellow and blue, you get green. If you combine yellow and red, you get orange. So these are primary colors, and orange, purple, and green are secondary colors. There are also tertiary colors. Hopefully I pronounced that right. These are of course a mix between whatever is between yellow and or let's take for example blue and purple would be in between violet, right? That would be a tertiary color. So yeah, but in this texture pack I'm using the Lens of a Sarah John Smith edit. This is my own personal preferred texture pack, and I'll show in a bit also why exactly. And so yeah, I would suggest you use it as well, but of course this theory can be applied to other texture packs as well. So let's move on to color schemes. Now there's the complementary color scheme, which works really well to make for like the contrasting elements to draw attention to a particular spot. Makes the colors look a bit more vibrant. But if you use a lot of these contrasting elements, builds will start to look messy, and so you have to be careful with it. If we look at this wall design, the primary color is kind of this blue, and in the center we have a yellow orangey color, which is really contrasting, so it makes it all pop and it draws attention in a bit. So yeah, this is the complementary color scheme. Let's move on to the next one. This is the analog color scheme, and this color schemes look very much in harmony, and but you might need to add in a bit more contrast to make it work better. So you should pick one dominating color, one to support and one for accents. Now if you look at this wall design, the primary block is sandstone. We have also these sand pillars, which is kind of in the same color, and sand, which is a bit lighter and a bit less texturized. So yeah, this is really analog. It's really quite, you wouldn't even pay attention to this wall design. It's all samey. But if we add in a bit of a complementary block, like a blue lapis block, it's the same saturation, therefore it works quite well. The blue block really catches your eye. It's bright. So yeah, this is like the analog color scheme with one complementary block. So yeah, this, you see the difference, right? This pops a bit more. Move on to the next color scheme. We go to triadic. The advantage of this is it's quite vibrant, but it needs balancing. You should again pick one dominating color and two for accents. If we look at this wall design, I used the beige yellow wall design again with the sandstone and the pillars. This purple block has really a lot higher saturation as the blue lapis block, which I used again. Therefore, like the point of attention is at the purple block in this case. According to like the color scheme, you should have two accenting blocks. So if we use same saturation blue block, we get this effect. I'm more in favor of this design because you're going to draw the attention to this purple block. You know exactly where people are going to focus on. This is kind of why I like this texture pack so much, because there are many ways to guide the attention of people to a particular spot. So yeah, let's move on to the next color scheme, which is the split contrast. It's the split complementary color scheme. This is, you're not going to use the complementary color, but the tertiary colors next to it for this color scheme. Now the advantage is it's quite contrasting, but there's less tension as the actual contrast, actual complementary color scheme. So it helps quite good to draw attention to particular spots, and there's less chance that you will fuck it up. So kind of this, if you look at this wall design, I can have in mind some of an industrial build with a lot of red brick. Then there's this shade of green, which is not really that green. That would help it a bit as a tertiary color, and a slight, a less saturated color of blue as well on the other side. So this could be a pipe leading from the factory. Let's say that you have one of those. In Dishonored, you had this back alley gang, which is quite industrial. This would be a setting where this color scheme could work really nicely with these pipes. So yeah, that's about it for the color schemes. Yes. Now there are also shades in this texture pack. This is one of the reasons why this texture pack is just so good. John Smith really knows what he was doing. One of the texture pack artists in the Nox group pointed out to me, Arsenic Shark, that these blocks have shades in them as well. Like this stone block is quite pinkish red shade undertone. The cobblestone is quite yellowish green. Stone is also quite yellowish green. Then this texture is quite blue purple gray. This is a custom block in the Lens of Sarah texture pack. This is actual gray, and we can show that better if I use a texture pack with a higher saturation. Like you can see a lot better that this is quite red, this is quite yellow greenish, this is quite green yellowish, and blue purple. Yeah, this is really grey. But if we look on top of it, because the top of the grass isn't on the train PNG, you can see that this stone lines up a lot better with the grass all of a sudden. Now if this was really grey, then this would line up less well, and it would be that much more contrast between the grass and stone. So by doing this, John Smith thought about how I'm going to match grass and stone, how I'm going to make them blend really nicely. So this is why John Smith is just, this texture pack is just so good, and everybody should use it, because these subtle undertones are going to make all the difference, but you won't really notice them even that much. So yeah, this stone brick can be used for interior as well, because it's just a bit warmer as actual grey stone. It's not cold, so to say. Now, and we move on to the textures. In this example, we have high contrast in color, but low contrast in the texture design. We have 2 bricks. This layer is 2 brick, 3 brick, 2 brick, 3 brick. Same goes here. Here we have opposite 3 2 3 2 there as well, and here 3232. So in textures this is quite analog, but in color contrast there's of course quite a bit of contrast. Opposite can also be true. In textures we have quite a bit of contrast in the texture because these are vertical and these are horizontal, but the color is exactly the same, it's brown. So this is again a way in which you can draw attention to particular spots, because you have contrast in textures as well. This might be also a bit more getting complex if you have complementary textures and complementary colors. Might be a bit overpowering again with the saturation as well. It's kind of, does it feel right? Does it look right? It can vary. There's a lot of options and possible possibilities that you can choose from, because this texture pack is just so varied. That's also why this texture pack can be used in so many cases, all the way up to like Art Nouveau style. This texture pack will be able to accommodate whatever build style you're going for. So it's really good. It doesn't work really well for organics though, because it's quite texturized. Anyway, so yeah, this high texture contrast, low in color. Now if we move on to the texture itself, we have, these are all implied textures. These blocks are flat, there's no actual texture. We just look at this and think, okay, tree bark is rough, and that's why we kind of see this as a rough texture. This is also why I don't use them kind of for much in building exteriors, because who's going to use rough wood? I know there's kind of a practice in Minecraft, but because we have, in this texture pack, you have vertical and horizontal wood planks, I would really suggest you use those instead of tree bark for houses, exteriors. Interiors as well. Tree bark is just for trees. And so yeah, implied texture again, this kind of looks hairy and cozy. This is thatch blocks, and implied texture again, because it's of course actually a flat block. You can also have actual texture on blocks if you use bump mapping in like the last Zonac edits versions. I'm not too big of a fan of those because it will limit a lot what you can do with textures, because then you're going to define them so much that you get less flexibility in the texture pack. But anyway, of course you can also use them for vertical lines again. If we go back to the previous tutorial, I was talking about lines, how vertical lines make stuff look taller. Now there are 3 blocks in this texture pack who can help you out with that effect. These 3 are 4, and so yeah, I will link to the tutorial as well. It might help you out a lot. And then we have blocks which has actual textures, so to say. We see some depth in these blocks. These are leaf blocks, you can see through them if you have them enabled. I would suggest you do, it helps a lot, I think, in my opinion. And also this beacon block. Wow, this beacon block is also, of course, it looks like a lamp inside of a glass block. And so yeah, these kind of a sort of texture, but of course they are flat again, just like the other blocks. And if we move on, because we have also other types of texture, this is kind of on a macro scale. If we look at this dragon, we see these spikes everywhere, which might make it look rough, spiky, dangerous. Holes in the wings, which make it look probably a bit elderly and battle worn. So yeah, this is where texture on a larger scale helps out, kind of to transfer like how you would how the skin of this dragon would feel. But and also on a smaller scale, we're using this red brick blocks and cobblestone a lot, and these both kind of have this scale effect. So yeah, this would be a scaly, very rough dragon kind of thing. That's also why the wings are made of smooth stone, because it has less texture. Smooth stone is not torn, therefore it can have this just smooth texture. Yeah, this was kind of the idea behind using these blocks for this dragon build. Now we can also on statues with clothing, you can have always these how the clothing drapes around a shape or a body, can have these depth effect as well. This kind of looks like a flowing male protection thing, hopefully. This is belt and cap, a warrior monk, and yeah, this is kind of the idea that went with this. Now, if we go back to the colors, there's this online tool which can help you out to decide which colors you want to use. There are various color schemes. There are also more as that I covered in this tutorial, but that's because I only talked about the color schemes that I liked most and I think most useful, most easy to apply in Minecraft. So yeah, but there are more color schemes. They all have their advantages and disadvantages. My personal preference is to make quite analog color schemes and then draw attention with textures and colors to various parts. I really want to make people focus on the things that I want to focus them on. Therefore, some people might say that the John Smith texture pack is a bit dull, and I think it's absolutely not. But yeah, personal preferences again. You can apply these theories to any texture pack. And yeah, let's do the quick recap. Welcome to the quick recap. Now, colors can be neutral. They can have a cold feeling or they can have a warm feeling. Neutral colors would be white, grey, black, brown. Brown is really earthy. Cold colors would be green, blue and purple, and warm colors red, orange, yellow. We move on to the color wheel. These are the primary colors: red, blue, yellow. If you combine blue and yellow you get green, purple and red, or blue and red you get purple, and red and yellow you get orange. These red and green are complementary colors because they're in a straight opposite of each other. Yellow and purple are as well, blue and orange also. So this is kind of for the first color scheme, complementary color scheme. This is a large blue wall with a yellow in the center for accent to make the colors pop a bit. This will make colors look more vibrant, but it might get messy if you do it on a very large scale and a lot of it, because you will be drawing attention to a lot of different parts. So then we have the analog color scheme. These are colors which are kind of also samey. Advantage of this is very much in harmony, but it might need more contrast. If you look at this wall design, there's beige. It's all kind of creamy yellow, but there's a bit of variation here. You wouldn't give it really a second view, but it's quite soothing. Now this is kind of an analog color scheme, and I added in a bit of contrast. Lapis block. It makes it pop a bit more. Right. Move on. Now, triadic color scheme. The advantage of it is it's quite vibrant, but it needs balancing. Basically, you're going to pick one dominating color and two for accents. In this wall design, I used the beige cream walls again. The purple block has a higher saturation as the lapis block, therefore it draws in more attention. And the lapis block is just blue. Purple and blue would be triadic colors for this scheme. Now, the purple is really more contrasting as the blue, but you can also make them, of course, the same weight, kind of a saturation. I would prefer this design over this design, but because then I can make sure that all the attention is drawn to purple instead of to blue and purple. We have the same weight. But yeah, personal preferences. You need to form your own opinion as well about these things. Can go with either, but I would say if you're going to use this scheme, you should worry about making stuff too complementary and making it messy. Now we have also a split complementary color scheme. These are a bit closer to complementary, but just like the tertiary colors. And in this design I use kind of the red brick, oxidized copper, bronze and a blue lapis block. This bit of contrast would draw the attention to these copper and lapis, and the brick would be the base color. So yeah, now it can also be color variation inside of the blocks. This can be done as best with neutral colors. They can have kind of a colory shade. We're looking at brick, cobblestone, other type of stone, and just stone, and bedrock. Now if we turn up the saturation a bit real quick, made a more saturated texture pack. You can see this has a pinkish shade. This has quite greenish yellow shade, green yellow again, mostly green, and then we have blue purple. This is definitely completely gray. And if we move up, the genius of this texture pack shows, because the top isn't changed, but like there's less contrast between these blocks. This makes that the stone and the grass blends better together. So this shows the genius of John Smith and the awesomeness of this texture pack. So let's go back to the real texture pack real quick. Yes. So now we're going a bit more into textures. In this example, there's a lot of color, complementary colors, a lot of color difference, but in texture they are quite the same. We have 2 bricks, 3 bricks, 2 bricks, 3 bricks. Here we have 3, 2, 3, 2. Well, you get the pattern. In textures they are quite the same, but in color they are not. And yeah, there's also the opposing. In color these are really very much the same. In texture not so much, because we have vertical wood and we have horizontal wood directionality. And yeah, this can help without, at first glance the color scheme is really analog, so it isn't drawing that much attention, and then you can have all these kind of focus points where you're going to use different woods. So this is again why this texture pack is so good, because you have stuff like these vertical planks. Now these are all implied textures. This of course tree bark, you would think that this is really rough bark, and you can look at it, and of course these textures are flat, but they look like they're rough. This is also why I suggest to use wood instead of these barks on exteriors of houses, or houses in general. Nobody's going to use unprocessed wood on the exterior of the house, which is less like you're going to saw wood and planks and pillars. Now another implied texture is kind of this hairy block. It's thatch. It kind of looks cozy and warm. Implied texture again. More implied texture. Vertical lines, of course. If we go back to the previous example that I did about the previous tutorial about shapes and lines, shapes and lines. Vertical lines will make stuff look taller, and in this texture pack we have 3 blocks we can do so, or 4 blocks if you count this one as well. It's a different block. Now you can have actual kind of depth in these textures, because leaves support transparency. I would advise to put them on fancy, because it helps. And of course beacon blocks kind of seem to be inside of a glass block, so they have depth as well. And you can also have other forms of texture which are more on a macro scale. If we look at this dragon, there are a lot of spikes on this dragon, implying that it's very rough, scaly dragon, scary, and it is battle worn. There are holes in his wings. Then when it comes to the actual blocks that I use for this build, you see the red brick and a lot of cobblestone. These kind of look like scales, therefore they really like a reptile skin. It works out quite well. And the wings I made a lot of smooth stone, because the texture is less prominent. It kind of looks like there's like wings supposed to be, and then they have the cobblestone edges around holes, as if the wings are torn, battle worn. So yeah, this is kind of how you can use textures on a macro scale, and on a micro scale would be the block itself. Now we can also use this for statues. Statues of course have these draping clothes going on. Here it drapes over kind of a robe. The cap drapes over this male protection again. This is kind of like a warrior monk statue. And yeah, you have all these wavy cloth parts, suggesting that this cloth kind of so yeah, that's about it for textures and colors. So if you find this useful, you find a use for this tutorial, it helped you out, comment, subscribe, like, do whatever, and I wish you an awesome day.